typically when are speaking about increasing our lifespan or what we can do to live longer or stay younger, we typically stay on what do I call stay on the surface of it. Even in my podcast, I tend to do that. I talk about things like how can you prolong the life of your knees? What kind of exercises can you do? Or in order to prolong my life, what vitamins do I need? What do I need to do with my nutrition? And even dealing with stress, how can I mitigate my stress? But I typically don't, and we typically don't go deeper than that in talking about things like cellular degeneration. Now, it's generally accepted that cellular degeneration comes because of time. But what if cellular degeneration doesn't just spontaneously happen? What if cellular degeneration is due to deliberate action? Today on the Personalized Fitness Podcast. Good day and welcome to the Personalized Fitness Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Garrett Williamson. I'm president of Personalized Fitness and the host of the Personalized Fitness Podcast. And as always, I really appreciate you joining me and tuning in to find out about dispelling the myths of health, fitness, and wellness. And we're going to continue on with my favorite topic, of course, and that is dealing with the live age. And we're working today and talking about something much deeper. And something that's generally accepted, and something that again is popularly held, and that is cellular degeneration. Now, before I get into that topic, of course, I want to tell you how to get in touch with us if you have any questions about this subject or any others. Or, as always, if you have any questions dealing with dispelling the myths of health, fitness, and wellness, you can reach me at area code 251-278-3343. That's 251-278-EDGE. You can also reach me at Garrett, Garrett, at personalizedfitness.com. That's, of course, my email address. It's also personalizedfitness.com is our website. And you can contact us through Facebook at Personal Edge Fitness. We also have a YouTube channel, by the way, for those of you, some of you may be watching this on our YouTube channel. And I want to direct you that also, which is, if you just search in YouTube, Personal Edge Fitness, you're going to come up with our mini videos, including one I think we just put out, which is the Ask Katie segment. Ask Katie segment is going on its own, and will now be on our social media and also on our YouTube channel. And Katie did a great job of it. You'll love her expertise. And if you don't want to ask me a question, hey, she's got some numbers. You can contact her, and she'll be glad to take any fitness questions, and she loves answering questions on fitness and on life. So and she has that on the Dropbox that we have down in the Mobile location for questions, and she takes questions online, takes questions on our email address. So love to hear from you about your questions for Ask Katie. You can also hit me up on X or Twitter at Team PE. Today's podcast actually comes from a discussion that I got into the other day, and I want to stop a second and talk about thank those individuals that reached out to us about my 200th podcast. That was a major milestone. I had a lot of people offering me congratulations on hitting 200. I love it. I've been at this for years now, and that was a milestone, and really enjoyed the fact that we'd hit the milestone and that we did the 200th. And those of you that commented that heard the 200th episode and knew it was something very different, and it was a different approach for me, and I don't know if that I said this or not, but that was an idea. Of course, I was going to speak about my favorite topic, which is live age, and on the 100th podcast, I talked about live age and the fountain of youth, and spoke about that, but this one I was going to, I'd planned on talking about an aspect of live age. And the morning that I ended up recording that, I woke up at 3 a.m, and this idea hit me. And that was the story that I told you on the 200th podcast. It was a very difficult podcast to do, but it was very cathartic, and I was glad I did it. And the main reason for me talking about it and bringing it up was I had a lot of people reach out, and a lot of people have had some wonderful comments about it, and appreciated it, and had some very, very thoughtful comments that were made to me personally, and also people that reached out online. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate not only you being a fan of the show, but I really appreciate the feedback that I got on that particular podcast. And the reason I stopped there in my conversation to talk about the 200 was because that dealt with an argument. If you heard the episode, if you haven't, I highly encourage you to go check it out, because you'll learn a lot about why I do what I do. And it really spoke to my why. But that I talked about an argument. I talked about where the whole lie of age came from. And 2 days ago, I had a similar situation. Not the same by any means, but it was a discussion, a conversation. Some people, if they'd heard us, in fact, the one person there that was a spectator when this happened, may have thought that it was an argument. And if you want to call it an argument, because it did get heated in that I got very strongly defending the live age and talking about the live age, and the individual that I was conversing with, he got very heated in his argument against it. And so if you want to call it an argument, that's fine. I don't want to, because that has negative connotations. It was not ugly. I had just met the individual maybe 5 minutes before. Very nice guy, ex-military, and I didn't tell him this. He's in phenomenal shape. I mean, just in phenomenal shape. And he gave me the idea actually for this podcast. So I'm not mentioning his name here because I don't have permission to do so, and I wouldn't want to embarrass him by any means, because, like I say, we just met. But I thanked him. I thanked him afterwards for the conversation, and I do this anytime I do have, especially heated conversations about this, that people really want to challenge me, really want to push me, because that's gonna do nothing but make my argument stronger. Or maybe one day, it's quite possible, somebody could prove me wrong. And if they prove me wrong, I'll be the first one to say it. That didn't happen, of course, but it does nothing but actually help when I have this conversation. So when I give you the contact numbers for the show and getting in touch with me and all the information there, I mean it. Please, if you have any challenges about this, even if you don't have proof, that's fine. I'm not gonna belittle anybody. But I love discussing it, and it does nothing but strengthen my argument, especially if you thought of something that, well, you haven't thought of this. You know, the reason I'm doing this series on, is it age or is it something else, covering your but what abouts. If it's your but what about, love to speak to you about it. It does nothing but help my situation. Again, reach out to me at 251-278-3343. You can leave your name anonymously if you like to. I will not belittle anybody on this show. The email address is Garrett, Garrett, at personalagefitness.com. You can also reach me at personalagefitness.com, which is our website and our Facebook page, and reach out to me through the Eastern Shore location, through one of my staff members, through the Mobile location. However, hit me up on Twitter at Team P if need be. But we got into a conversation, and the reason it started was this. I'm not even going to get too detailed about this individual's injury. I'm just going to say that he had a fitness related injury, and because I'm not trying to out this person as far as who was involved in the conversation with me, but he had an injury. And like I say, this guy was in fantastic shape. I've been doing this for 32 years. No, I didn't do any measurements on him or anything, but I know what I'm seeing, and also I know what I'm hearing as far as his workout's concerned, and what he does to take care of himself. And in great shape, just phenomenal shape. But he had an injury, and it was during an exercise. And as he said, it was a workout that he's been doing for 20 years, and then he had this very painful, one that an injury that leaves permanent damage, and his comment that started all this was that, well, you just can't do that when you're 40. Well, with me that went over like a lead balloon, and because of this is my brand, this is also, as you heard in the 200th podcast, why it's so near and dear to my heart, and why I'm so passionate about this. It is definitely not only my business brand, but it's my personal brand. I cannot let that go. I can't let somebody say that and look like I, in not having a response, somehow they may think I agreed with them, and I always have to challenge it. Again, it was what I was put on the earth here to do. And, of course, I told him, I said, well, that has no factor whatsoever. And the individual that was the spectator was a former client of mine. He knows my mantra. And I looked at him and I said, I can't let that go. And I said, there's no bearing on that whatsoever. And that started a very big back and forth that I'll keep saying this. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was actually late to my godson's first birthday, which I broke my heart to do that, but because I was involved in this conversation. So, but what we got talking about, we were talking about what had happened, what caused it, and of course I told him that deterioration does not have anything to do with time passing on a calendar, and age. You've heard my definition before, and age being things that happen to a body either spontaneously or through deliberate action. And I'm on a great charge to get spontaneously removed from that conversation because there's no proof of it. There's absolutely no proof that this stuff happens spontaneously. And a side note on that, I don't want to go too long in this podcast, but side note on that is I always like using my analogies. And it's amazing how we just accept wholeheartedly that this just happens and there's no reason. We do that about age and degeneration. We just accept it. That's it. Just swallow this pill. Don't worry about it. It's true, and don't even check it. What if your kid, if you have kids, that you walk in the room and a lamp is broken and they say, what happened? Oh, nothing. It just happened. Well, for a fact that's not true. I mean, it may have been an accident, but there was some deliberate action there. There was some deliberate action that caused that. It could be an accident or whatever, and not me. NOTME is not a person, even though not me gets blamed for a lot of these things. For a fact, there's a reason why that happened. Just like everything else, nothing happens just spontaneously. There is a reason. Even spontaneous combustion, if you look at all the factors involved, things led up to spontaneous combustion. There is a reason for it. And this particular person I was speaking to picked his challenge, I'm assuming here, but just because of the way the conversation went, to be, okay, we're gonna break down to the cellular level. I'm really gonna trip you up. I'm gonna break it down to cellular level and say, well, part of what led to my injury was cellular degeneration. And cellular degeneration just happens. We know that. We know that happens because of time. And I told him, I said, no, we accept that. We believe that. But it's not true. How do I know it's not true? Well, years ago, we believed a lot about cellular degeneration being spontaneous. Cellular degeneration in the eyes just happened. Then we found out that staring at the sun leads to cellular degeneration of the eyes. So we found, hey, here's something that can cause it. And the next year, we found something more that can cause it. And next year, we found more that caused it. And so, as I've said before, it's just genetics, or it's just time, or it's just in your DNA. Those are the properties. Those are the arguments that get chipped away every single year with more studies, with more clinical studies. We start finding out more and more. That's why we're not stopping. We're not giving up on our studies about all this stuff. If it were true, if it were just absolutely true, then we'd stop studying it. I'm not sure how many studies there are going on about people being able to run through a brick wall. Someday we know that's going to happen, so we're going to keep studying it and whatever. I think those studies have basically stopped. People trying to run through a brick wall. But we haven't stopped studying degeneration of cells. I'm sure there's a study going on right now. I'm sure there's more data that we'll know 6 months from now, a year from now, that we don't know now. As I said before, we've been studying the human body since the 1500s, and we still don't know everything about it. So I thought we'd get today into, okay, is it age or is it time? Or is it spontaneous? I mean, excuse me, is it time? Is it spontaneous? Or is it deliberate action that causes cellular degeneration? And we don't know all of it yet. We're still researchers, but let me show you what we're finding out. Because I will say that the clinical, not observational, clinical studies that they're doing on this are not continually proving that time is causing this. What they are proving, what they're finding with these studies is, oh, by the way, we found a deliberate action that's contributing to this. Time may be a factor, but we're finding, the new stuff that we're finding, what these studies are proving are that there's little bits of deliberate action that are causing these things. and a lot of the deliberate actions, we know ways to avoid it. So as always, I like to back everything up I say with a study, and as always, I always say on the show that if it's my opinion, I'll tell you it's my opinion. If it's a fact, I'll tell you it's a fact, and I'm going to throw my reading glasses on because, of course, I've got some studies and I don't know them verbatim, so I'll have to read some of this to you. Pardon me for doing that, but I'm going to give you some examples of what we're talking about. If I can get all configured here for those of you that are watching me on video, struggle with my headphones. So and this the foundations of cellular degeneration. Before diving deep into this, it is crucial to understand what cellular degeneration actually means. At the cellular level, our bodies are always working to maintain a balance between generating new cells and eliminating old ones or damaged ones. Now we see this in, I've talked to y'all about the body doing the regular systems check. It's going on from the cradle to the grave. Your body's doing a constant systems check. And I talk about that a lot when I talk about fitness and muscular development and what have you. No matter whether or not you work out or you exercise, your body is going through every single day and saying, okay, have we used this muscle? Pick a muscle. Doesn't matter what muscle. Every muscle's got this going on. Have we used this muscle in a while? We haven't done anything with it in 72 hours or more because we've been down to free muscle at 72 hours after a workout. So have we used it? We haven't used it? Well, great. There's a lot of energy there, and there's a lot of energy required to maintain that muscle. So this is your body doing this. So what your body says, okay, since we're not using it, let's break that muscle down and let's use it for energy. It's called atrophy. We all understand atrophy happens. It's the reason I've used the example several times. My grandmother, she was great. She'd walk every day to the mailbox, and pretty soon she wasn't walking to the mailbox anymore. She just got older. No, she had cellular degeneration. She had to break down an atrophy of the muscle, either because of not maintaining it, because not having the right amount of protein, or maybe she stopped walking so far to the mailbox. Numerous factors, something that deals with fitness, nutrition, lifestyle, or mindset that she changed that caused that to happen. And that is a type of cellular degeneration. So what we're talking about as far as making sure you understand what cellular degeneration is body's always working to maintain a balance. I'm sorry, I wrote this down earlier, between generating new cells and eliminating old or damaged ones. And that's what that is. Factors such as DNA damage, exposure to toxins, oxidative stress can lead to the malfunction of cells, often termed as cellular degeneration. So that's what we're talking about. Okay. Is it age? Is it time? Is it spontaneous? All those things are synonymous as far as I'm concerned. Age, which is time passing on a calendar, you've heard me describe that. So, and the acceptance, what people say, well, it's just aging. What they're usually talking about is they're usually talking about spontaneous occurrence. Or is it action? I say deliberate action, because we are in control. Fitness, nutrition, lifestyle, mindset, all 100% your fault, 100% your responsibility, 100% in your control. Let's talk about oxidative stress and antioxidants. Okay, a study published in the Free Radical Biology and Medicine journal posted that oxidative stress plays a significant role in aging and related diseases. In aging, what they're talking about is deterioration. You know, I don't use that term as deterioration, but that's what they're saying here. So it plays a significant role in, let's put my word in there, deterioration and related diseases. However, the interesting part is that our diet, nutrition, rich in antioxidants from fruits, vegetables, and certain beverages can counteract this stress. It's a study they published. What they find out? They found out that, oh yeah, definitely time causes it. Spontaneously, no, they found out that something we are doing, some deliberate action. And a deliberate action can be avoiding antioxidants. That's a deliberate action. You're deliberately not doing that. Not participating in exercise. Deliberate action. Not deliberate action of not participating in exercise. Excuse me. Read that again. The interesting part is that our diet rich in antioxidants from fruits, vegetables, and certain beverages can counteract the stress. Thus, the degenerative effects are not from passing of time, but from the absence of protective agents in our diet. There's nutrition. Hey, would you like another study? Let me tell you another one. DNA damage and repair. Something, again, nothing you can do about your genes, nothing you can do about your cells and your DNA, you're born with it this way or whatever. DNA damage and repair. A study from Nature Communications highlighted that lifestyle factors like smoking and UV exposure could accelerate DNA damage. Cells have DNA repair mechanisms that counteract this damage. Are you surprised to hear that? You should be. If you're a fan of the show, you hear me talk about all the time that doing that systems check, that the body is the only machine that's the most sophisticated machine you'll ever encounter. It is the only machine that can actually repair itself. The cells have DNA repair mechanisms that counteract this damage. A nutrient-rich diet and avoidance of known carcinogens can support these repair processes, slowing the rate of cellular degeneration. More studies will continue. So if you're making the argument of, well, they said you can slow it, but you see it automatically happens. No, that's not what they mean. That means this is what we know now. More studies are needed. That I guarantee you, this is Garrett's opinion, but it's proven by every study proves this. In my opinion, that they're going to continually chip away at that belief that it's just genetics or it's just time or it's just spontaneous. That each one of those studies is going to continue to chip away at just spontaneous DNA degeneration, like this study does. Hey, would you like another one? Let's keep going. Telomeres. Telomeres these are the protective caps at the end of our chromosomes. Now, some of these you may have actually heard of this. They supposedly naturally shorten as we age, which leads to cellular aging and malfunction. However, a groundbreaking study in the journal PLOS One, connected lifestyle factors such as chronic stress. Lifestyle factors. I'm reading this. They wrote that in there. You may have heard the Personalized Fitness podcast, but they wrote that in there. Connected lifestyle factors. Lifestyle's a choice, folks. Lifestyle factors such as chronic stress and poor diet. I've told you several times, when I talk about lifestyle, I talk about stress. I talk about stress. Stress is a thing. It actually does occur. It's the fight or flight response we have in our body. And it is directly related to lifestyle, such as chronic stress and poor diet. Poor diet I call in nutrition, but that also works into your lifestyle. As I've used the example of seniors that getting rid of protein in their diet because it's easier not to make protein. It's just easier to pour some cereal. So lifestyle does deal with diet also, but diet, of course, is nutrition. So connected lifestyle factors such as chronic stress and poor diet, they've, in this study, accelerated telomere shortening. Accelerated it, caused it to happen, deliberate action. Conversely, mindfulness practiced and a balanced diet might slow this. Wow, imagine that. Mindfulness practices. Where have you heard that before? Well, fitness, nutrition, lifestyle, mindset, and a balanced diet. Let's keep going. The role of this is autophagy is the name of this. This is the cellular cleanup process. You've heard this before, where cells digest and recycle their damaged components, plays a pivotal role in preventing cellular degeneration. That systems check going on. Studies, including one from the Journal of Clinical Investigation, have shown that certain types of diet, they actually did one on intermittent fasting, and exercise can enhance autophagy, suggesting that our habits can, our habits? That's not time passing on a calendar. Suggesting that our habits can directly influence the self-renewing processes of our cells. Wow. In other words, we can affect it through deliberate action. One more. And I have to do this one because it touches on a subject I speak about a lot. I've done a podcast on this, and I've talked about it because I have a lot of 35% of our clientele is over the age of 65. So mental diseases are things that we deal with, and of course, dementia, Alzheimer's. These are things that we see. Alzheimer's is one of the top 10 killers. Number 2 cause or risk factor associated with Alzheimer's is obesity, and you've heard me talk about water in treating of dementia or Alzheimer's. But the way we train our bodies doesn't just affect cellular health in a vacuum. Degenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and many forms of cancer have ties to the health of our cells. Pretty easy to understand. Our choices from diet to exercise and mental well-being can be pivotal in our risk for these diseases, far beyond just the factor of age. And the studies for that I have in my talk on dementia, and way that we actually are causing that. So I talked about that also with the water doctor and the way he was able to treat Alzheimer's and to treat dementia, early onset dementia, with just drinking water. And why drinking water? Because some kind of magic water, or was it what's the big one they're pushing now? Alkaline water, or was it that? No, it was just water. Why? Because we're supposed to drink 100 ounces a day. I know you've heard that before if you're a fan of the podcast, because I always want to have my water bottle with me when I'm talking about this. I can't get through a single podcast without talking about water. We're supposed to have 100 ounces a day every single day of the week, every National Don't Drink Water Day, even on Sundays, whatever. Always supposed to have 100 ounces a day. And if we are not, we are causing damage. We are causing degeneration without doing something as simple as water. And I've forgotten that I've known this before, and I should have looked this up for the podcast. What percent of our cells are made up of water? I mean, it's the majority of the cell is water, from what I understand, at least 60%. And contact me if you think I'm wrong, but I know they're heavily made up of water. So to make it easy for you, and to make it easy to understand, I'll use one of my analogies. We're creating cells all the time, and these studies I've talked about that. You've heard about that. The one that everybody talks about is, and I used to know the dateline on this. How soon your skin cells regenerate, and how quickly that takes place. Or what. So we're doing that all the time. The body's constantly renewing cells, taking old pieces together, putting them together, making new cells. If you were in construction and you built this new house, built it strong, firm, whatever, well, several years later, through deliberate action, through weather, through all kinds of things, you have deterioration. And remember now, a house is not a body, and so it's not a machine, or it's not an entity that rebuilds itself like the body does. But let's say, 15, 20 years, you got to do some repairs. You got to start putting stuff back in. And you can make it just like it was. You have the potential to do that. But this time, you don't use solid wood. You use cheaper wood. You don't use the and I don't know a whole lot about construction, but you don't use, good plumbing pieces, the right types of pipes and whatever. You use an inferior brand. I had some work done on my bulkhead, and we had the tiebacks, the stainless steel tiebacks that were supposed to last for years or whatever. Happened to find out years later that there was some very cheap steel that came out of China that was not as good as good stainless steel, and of course they broke. So we're building this house back with inferior products, or we're leaving stuff out. Instead of putting, 6 screws in this stud, we were putting in 4. Well, then we're going to make an inferior house. We're going to make an inferior product. It's not going to last as long. That's what we're doing to our bodies. That's why a cell will not build back as strong as it needs to build back. We're doing something. We're not getting enough sleep. We're putting too much stress on the body. We're not exercising enough. We're not feeding it right. Something is taking away from that building back process, which is actually causing the degeneration and not time. Again, if you have any questions about this, please reach out to me at area code 251-278-3343. That's 251-278-EDGE. You can also reach me at Garrett, Garrett, at personaledgefitness.com. That's also our website and our Facebook page. Hit me up on Twitter at TeamPE if you are so inclined. Cellular degeneration, breaking it down to the cellular level, Garrett. It's not spontaneous. It's deliberate action. And we know a lot of those answers to it. We know how to fix that. We work on that daily with our clients because it's just one more way we help you reach your level of wellness. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you next time.